While working on the details for my gnome home, I rolled out a piece of clay and cut out the polka dots that I'm going to add to my roof. I can roll out another piece of clay here into a rectangle shape and then roll it to make my chimney. I can also use a piece of this for my little sign that I plan to put outside the front door. So I'm going to roll it out until I get that 1/4 inch or thinner slab of clay, picking it up in between, being careful to make sure it does not stick. I want to try to get it as even as possible. You can even just use your hand to press out small pieces. Using the flat part, make sure it's smooth. You can also go over it again with your rib. So smoothing it out, I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm going to just kind of cut it off here. It's a little bit thicker on the end, and I want a rectangle. So I could either do it by hand or I could use my ruler to cut out a rectangle. Now, I'm going to carefully peel up my slab and I'm going to roll it, and it needs to be soft to do this so that I can get a little chimney shape. So I'm going to roll until it has overlapped, and I'm going to cut on an angle where it has overlapped. I'm going to open it up and remove the extra pieces. Then I'm going to score the seam, making sure that I'm supporting it. So scoring it with my fork on both sides, using slip, and then carefully pressing that seam together. I can blend until it disappears, so I have a seamless cylinder that I can then use for my chimney. It's a little bit tall, so I can go ahead and cut it down to be exactly the height that I want it once I attach it to my home. But it's really important that I take the time to smooth and blend that seam to make sure it's very well connected and strong. Now that I have my chimney and my spots ready, I'm going to attach them to my roof. I went ahead and I cut my chimney on an angle because I want it to fit on my roof like so. So I just took it and I cut it on an angle using my floss to get a nice clean cut. I'm going to go ahead and dip my chimney in some water, and I'm going to position where I want it. I do this to show myself where I need to score. Now I can see a ring of water where I placed my chimney, and that's my marker for where to score. This is a really helpful trick that many potters use. So scoring along that ring of water, and then scoring, of course, on my chimney, which is already soft. I'm going to carefully press, making sure I don't squish it. So being very careful and gently kind of blending to attach. Once it has firmed up, I can go over and smooth a little bit more with my finger, but right now I want to be pretty gentle. I like to use a paintbrush that is just dampened a tiny bit to get into those seams. I should also go from the inside to make sure it is attached really well. I'll do the same for my spots for my mushroom. So I'm going to go ahead and score my mushroom spot in both areas. Give it a little bit of water and carefully attach. I want to be careful to attach it well, but not to blend it too much, because I want the mushrooms to be raised so that they have a different height than the roof. I'll continue to lay out all of my mushrooms, and I will clean up my chimney once it's not so squishy, but while it's still leather soft. Once I've attached my chimney and the polka dots on my roof, I want to carefully puncture a hole between where my chimney attaches to my roof. This way, light will be able to pass through when I put a candle inside. I'm going to very carefully, with my popsicle stick, just kind of twisting and gently cutting into, I will open up a hole. I'm going to be very careful not to smush my chimney. I'm just kind of rocking it back and forth to open that hole up a little bit wider. It's important to do this while it's still soft, so that way I can easily create that opening. So I can now see all the way through. Oh, I can see all the way through, which will let light pass through. After that, I'm going to focus on opening other areas. So in my design, I have windows and a door. I'm going to first mark where I want to add these details, and then I will carefully cut into them. So I'm thinking that my door might be an open door or cracked open. So my plan is to cut it open on just one side and kind of carefully open it like a door. So I'm going to outline where I want it first, and also do the same with my windows. If I wanted to, I can make a template so that I got those sizes just right. But if I gently draw them out first, I can always adjust them. It's also important that when I do start cutting into my clay, that I'm really confident I have a plan and that I go slow. If I try to cut into my clay in one pass, it might smush it instead of cut cleanly into it. So I'm going to show you what I mean. With my door, I'm going to kind of just cut part of the way through and then go back over it again, applying gentle but firm pressure until I'm able to slice all the way through that wall. So just taking my time, trying to cut straight down into it to get a clean cut. So once I have the side of the door, I'm going to leave this side connected because I'm going to bend it, but I also need to carefully cut along the base. So doing the same, making multiple passes until I successfully cut all the way through. So now I can gently push my door open so it's just kind of cracked open to allow some light to shine through. I would then clean up this edge until it looks really nice. I'll do the same for my windows as well, carefully cutting in between small quarter triangle shapes, leaving kind of a plus sign connected. Then once I've cut out my pieces, I'll start to really add the details to my house. Once I've attached and cut out my main elements, I'll spend a good amount of time really cleaning up the seams both inside and out. This is also a really fun time where you can test to see what the luminary part of this will look like. So using your phone or a flashlight, you can do a quick test to see how it's going to look. From here, I'm going to spend the time working on adding those details back in. I talked earlier about creating a bark texture on the house. So by using the wooden popsicle stick, I can get a wide, rough texture that's like trees. And I can also go on top of that to create more defined areas with my popsicle stick. So I might gently start to add deeper grooves to get more of a bark-like texture. Being careful to smooth out any clay burrs that come up. It's a really good time to do this when it's kind of leather hard or almost leather hard, to create lots of detail and interest in my design. So I'll continue to do that until I feel like it's really looking like a tree. I might also add some rough texture down here on the base to make it look like grass. So maybe I'll use my fork and kind of scratch up that bottom to get a grassy texture. Again, just being careful not to create too many clay burrs. So I'll go all the way around and add these details until I'm happy with the finished design that matches my sketch. After I've carved all of my details, I'll spend my last bit of time cleaning up any clay burrs that I have kind of around my carved areas. I can then smooth any areas that maybe have gotten bumped or nicked while I've been working on it, and I will slowly allow this project to dry out. I will keep it in my bag for a day to let the moisture even out, and then I will slowly open my bag so that it dries out slowly. If I were to leave this out on the counter, I could easily get breaks in my connection areas from the clay drying and shrinking too quickly. But I'm super excited about how it came out, and I'm really looking forward to painting it.